इस वक्त हमारे साथ हमास में मौजूद गजा की स्ट्रिप में मौजूद पॉलिटिकल एनालिस्ट जर्नलिस्ट मौजूद हैं. सो we're gonna introduce him into our show for sure now. Basim Naim is here with us. He's the head of political and international relations department in Hamas and in Gaza. So a very warm welcome to Basim. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you're doing well and you're safe right now at the battleground. So we're gonna just discuss the whole scenario because the fight has begun and Hamas did surprisingly announce the war and Israel also announced the war. What's the on-ground situation right now in Gaza Strip?
Thank you very much. The situation at this moment is very, very, very serious and very, very dangerous. The Israeli defense ministers have announced in the early morning that they are calling all the citizens to leave the cities and the villages. I don't know where, because we don't have other place to leave to, and we don't have shelters, uh, because we are planning to wipe out some neighborhood totalities, and they have started already. In this morning, they have attacked one of the central markets in a refugee camp of Jabalia. At least 100 civilians killed. Now they are calling a lot of the citizens of high buildings, living residents of high buildings, to leave their houses. In some cases, even without any warning before. They have announced that they will not allow Gaza to get any fuel for the only generating power generating company, which means that in 24 hours Gaza will be totally dark without any kind of electricity. We most probably, based on this, we will not have any kind of water, because most of the wells are depending on generators to get the water. The same thing with internet. It means Gaza will be totally disconnected from the outside world. Until now, we are talking about 500 to 600 people killed, more maybe than 1,000 wounded. A lot of them are seriously wounded. The situation is very, very serious and very dangerous.
Okay, Basin, how does Israel plan to retaliate? We know that there was a Security Council meeting called by United Nations, but there wasn't any positive, outcomes by the meeting. So how does Israel plan to retaliate? There's been a blockade of, fuel, food from Israel's side to Gaza. How are the things gonna work now?
First of all, I want to correct something. The Israeli response is not under a retaliation. Our attack is a retaliation to 75 years of occupation and 17 years of a total suffocating siege by Israel, supported unfortunately by the international community. This is our attack is a retaliation to the humiliation of our holy sites in Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa, to the calls of burning cities and villages by the extremist settlers, and they have done it in Hawara. They have burned the village of Hawara. Therefore, we are responding to a 75 years of occupation and killing and deporting and so on. The Israelis, by the way, they don't need the attack or the operation of Hamas to attack Gaza Strip or any site in the Palestinian.
Okay.
Killing Palestinians, forcefully deporting Palestinians. This is the story of every day in the Gaza Strip, West Bank, and Jerusalem. This is our daily life with Israelis. You have in Palestine, you have only two choices or one choice. You have to die, but you have two choices how to die. Either to die by a rocket, by a shell, or to die by malnutrition and hunger and sickness. Therefore, we have no choices other than to die. And therefore, this is what happened in the last few days is only raising our voices against the oppression of 75 years, against the neglection of the international community, and including our Arabs and Islamic countries who didn't interfere to stop this crime and to dismantle this.
Well, that's exactly my questions. Now that Americans have announced to back Israel throughout the war, they have sent shipyards as well. How is that going to change the dynamics of the war, knowing the fact that Americans are now at the back of Israel as well?
Look, we are sure we are the owner of this land, and we sure, despite of our weaknesses and the limited resources we have the power of justice. We have the power of being committed to our cause, to our land, to our holy places, and our steadfastness with our actions on the ground. We are sure on long run we will change the equations, and we will reach our final goals of independence and sovereignty. Look, Israel is a big military state and supported by the international community, unfortunately, including the United States. But at the same time, they have their own weaknesses, and we Palestinians we have a good experience with these weaknesses. They are now totally divided internally in chaos they were not expecting. Can you imagine that these very simple, poor guys in Gaza who are besieged now for more than 17 years were able to enter the siege or to enter the fence and to attack very highly sophisticated military compounds and to take soldiers as hostages? I think this was impossible. But we have our weaknesses, but we have also our strength points. We believe that America will not support this terrorist states forever if they continue to commit their crimes, their terrorist attacks against our people.
Okay, Basenberg, the fact is this, that Hamas did took a bold decision of, starting the war over again, although you guys are in a state of war over 75 years. But how is it going to work in the future? Because Hamas is an independent, organization. It needs to be backed up by a few countries at least. And we do know the fact that Iran is also going to help, Hamas over the period of time if the war goes on. Is Iran willing to, help Hamas over this war?
This is a totally pure Palestinian battle.
Okay.
We are welcoming the support from any party, from Egypt, from Qatar, from Turkey, from Iran, from any country. But this is a pure Palestinian battle. But also there is a duties, there is a homework by the Arabs and Muslims. They have to do it because these holy sites in Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa, and other sites is not the property of Palestinians only. And this just cause of the Palestinians is the responsibility of all Arabs, Muslims, and even free people around the world. No one can expect security and stability and prosperity here without without Palestinians having or getting their rights of self-sovereignty and independence and right to return.
Well, then, what are the prospects of getting
To
into
this, we are
ceasefire? If
depending
the war goes on for a longer time, there
on the
needs to be
strength.
an end to the war as well. If both things go on, do you see a ceasefire coming in soon?
Yani, I expect that within maybe few days, few weeks, we will reach such a point to reach a ceasefire, but we cannot accept any kind of ceasefire unless we have reached our goal of this operation. And we believe we are in an open war against the terrorist state of Israel. Therefore, as long as our goals are not fulfilled, we will continue.
Okay, so you're saying that the war is going to go for a longer time if they do not, if the international organizations or international market does not accept the fact that the occupied land of Palestinians has to be freed. So, what are the dynamics of Israel? We know that Netanyahu has clearly announced that to mobilize his forces into Gaza Strip now. So, what about the local people, the citizens, the people who are not involved directly into the war? How are they going to manage the whole thing now?
As I said to you at the beginning, it is very, very serious and very dangerous what's happening now. And we know exactly what does it mean to mobilize the Israeli army against the Gaza Strip. But also in 2008, 2012, 2014, 2021, he mobilized his army against our people in the Gaza Strip. And he put specific goals to achieve. And in all these aggression, he failed to achieve any of these goals. In all times, he returned back in failure. Therefore, we know that we have to pay the price of our freedom, of our dignity, of our independence. But and we have no choices because the only choice left for Palestinians is to choose how to die. Therefore, we are ready to pay the price of any confrontation with the occupation until we get our freedom and dignity and until we get the right of self-sovereignty.
Okay, Boston, but apart from the international community, the Arab countries are, they're shaking hands with Israel recently. As you know, Abraham Accords also happened a few years back. Now more and more Muslim countries are shaking hands, with Israel as well. How do you see that changing the dynamics of the war? Because most of the countries, even from the OIC, are, they're demanding for a ceasefire. They're asking for a better solution for the war. So how do you respond to that?
To be honest with you and frank, it is really shameful when we see our brothers and sisters in the Arabic and Islamic countries shaking hands with these terrorist groups, with these extremist systems, specifically with this government. You have in this government Ben Gvir and Smotrich, who are calling every day to destroy the mosque and to build a temple, who are calling every day to burn Palestinian cities. But let me say one thing. It is not only about the Palestinian cause. It is all about the future of the region and about the future of these countries. Can you give me any example of all these countries who have now
Thank you
shake
so much,
hand or
Basim Naim, for giving us your time.